It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Well, guys, biggest story in sports today. Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss for LSU, and that is him getting booed.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles, the sports world and the college football world are all talking about Ole Miss's head coach Lane Kiffin deciding to leave the program in the midst of a historic playoff run to become the head coach at LSU. Many are angry, they're upset, they're outraged. This conversation has been going on for weeks now about LSU preparing to offer the job to Lane Kiffin. And I understand that some within the administration of Ole Miss, in particular the athletic director, wanted direct answers from Lane Kiffin soon about if he would stay or if he would move to LSU. Now he has chosen to move to LSU. He's going to take key members of his staff with him. And these were the guys who helped him build this winning program at Ole Miss that they've not had in decades. They're in the midst of a historic run that has not been done in my lifetime. They are in place, in position, in prime position to possibly win the national championship. Now Lane Kiffin has booted from the program and he's going to LSU. It is my understanding, according to what Lane Kiffin said to a reporter, was that he asked, could he remain with Ole Miss and finish coaching out this playoff run? And the AD told him no. What hurts me about this is Lane Kiffin should have did better by his players, his athletes. The AD should have did better by the players, the athletes of that football team. They were never consulted by the athletic director in a meeting. He should have met with those players and said, look, your coach has informed me that he's leaving and he's going to take the job at LSU. But he's asked me, can he stay and coach you all throughout this process? Before I make that decision, you're the guys that's on the field playing through injuries. You're the guys that made sacrifices to come here. You're the guys that took a chance on this program and Lane Kiffin. You should have a say in this, not just me on my own. But the athletic director, I believe his ego got bruised and he got offended. He told Lane Kiffin no. Now, who suffers the most? Lane Kiffin gets a $5 million bonus going to LSU. Who suffers the most? The boys on that football team, those players who through blood, sweat, and tears have sacrificed to make that program what it has not been in decades. Nobody thought about the players in this process, and that's what upsets me.
I think this is, I think if you look at Lane's career as a whole, I don't think anyone should be surprised, right? He has a history of bouncing around. He had some strange history at USC, quit after a year at Tennessee. When he was the OC, the offensive coordinator at Alabama, he left kind of abruptly because of Saban's
He was
thoughts.
fired.
Right. So we have all these concerns. Clearly a very good coach, right? What he's achieved this year, 11-1 for Ole Miss, a school that doesn't have the endowment, the national fan base, and there are things that Ole Miss doesn't have that he achieved, especially in this very money-centric era of college football, that has returned some fairness to compensating players, which I support. What I don't support is how contracts don't seem to matter and ethics are completely out the window. At first I was very aggravated with Lane, and let me be honest, I went to LSU. I'm an LSU fan. I don't watch LSU football much because I almost went to jail at the Cotton Bowl against UT back in the early 2000s while I was a young lawyer. I get too into it, right? I'm a big fan of LSU football, but I'm not a fan of this move, even if it's a winning move for the school, because I think that LSU could have waited. I think they wanted some certainty. Obviously, they fired their coach midstream this year because he just wasn't performing despite a huge budget to recruit players. He just wasn't a good coach. I've always felt that way.
Well, he couldn't relate to the people of Texas and Louisiana.
Yeah.
LSU's number one recruiting area is Louisiana, Texas.
Right.
But when you brought in Mr. Kelly, Brian Kelly was from Notre Dame up on the East Coast. He, Midwest area, he didn't know how to relate to players down south like that. And many people upset when he finally came to LSU. He had to fake a Southern accent to introduce himself.
He couldn't build a team.
Exactly.
He was no Nick Saban.
Didn't have the recruiting like that.
Right. Recruiting is key. Now, of course, recruiting with money is key. And obviously we see, like with the University of Texas, you can spend all the money in the world and maybe not get the results that you wanted.
That's a whole other discussion.
But that's a whole other discussion. But what bothers me the most is, and it's like when we talk about trans women competing against women and we discount young adults and youths and the need for fairness and competition and success. And I don't want to open that can of worms here, but you have these kids that have given more than people who have never really competed for anything in their life, whether academic or athletic. I'm not saying it's all about the warrior or the battlefield.
And the athletic director did not consider that.
Put all this work in, a lifetime of work, to be the best that they can. To be 11-1 at the
Historic
SEC.
run.
And I'll make this clear. I would like to say this to Matt Horn, our producer, director, Ohio State fan. The SEC being the only real conference in college football. And then we have a guy that built a team that is competing against the great teams, right? And these kids, many of them from rural Deep South. Many of them tasting the success and looking at the pathway, and then when they're almost at the finish line,
boot to another program.
They just get.
You take the money and run. The $5 million bonus.
Okay, but you don't get the championship, and the third string guy doesn't get the ring. Doesn't get the. It's
let me
disgusting,
say this, Charles.
Especially
they
with A&M's
always
loss.
knock the kids for taking the money and running.
Oh no, I'm not.
But
knocking
before
kids.
the kids and NIL were taking the money and running, these coaches were taking the money and running.
Absolutely.
And what this says now is you can't ask players to be loyal to programs. When you see coaches do what Mr. Kiffin has done, what Lane Kiffin has done, I know that they offer you $5 million, brother. But Lane should have said, wait a minute. Ole Miss took a chance on me.
Right.
When my reputation was at the bottom of the barrel.
Exactly.
Because I was known for giving up on programs and booting off the programs to get a better opportunity.
Right.
Ole Miss took a chance on me. And the results of that chance now is we're in a historic run. We possibly can win the national championship out of respect for their taking a chance on me.
Tell
and the risk
LSU to
on
wait.
me. LSU has to wait. And let me finish this run with these kids, and I'll tell LSU I'll take the job after that, but not before.
Right, and that's
I believe that Lane Kiffin should have did that, and he had the influence and he had the strength to do it.
Right.
To say, hey,
LSU wanted him.
I'll take the job, but you're going to have to wait until I finish this historic run.
Yeah.
I'm not going to abandon these kids like that. And now, what I'm afraid is going to happen, how many kids is Lane Kiffin going to take from Ole Miss to LSU with him? Because one, they know the system.
Well, we see this happen.
They
all
know
the time
routines. They know the coaches. So he don't have to recreate a whole new system at LSU. Just poach from the program where you at. Take the best talent you got there with you. Give them pay raises while you're going to LSU because you got one. And now you're going to leave the Ole Miss program in shambles to enrich an even richer program. You can't talk about loyalty with players when coaches do things like this. I'm sorry.
The real question is,
Kiffin's a great coach. He's a great coach.
He's a good coach.
He can coach his behind off.
He's a good OC.
But Lane Kiffin should have said, remember, Ole Miss took a chance on me. When Saban fired me, USC let me go. I had a bad reputation at Tennessee. I didn't break the bank and do that very well at FAU. He should have said, wait a minute. Loyalty and giving me back my credibility is more than a $5 million bonus in December. I would have to take that in January.
Well, it's not even about, look, how much money do you need? Yes, LSU, what is it, a 7-year, $90 million, making $9 million a year or something?
I think it's like 12 a year.
But I thought I saw 9, but who knows? And a huge set aside for NIL money to get players. But he was making $6 million a year at Ole Miss. Like, how much money do you need to live your best life? And then what does it go down? He had a chance at a natty. How is that natty not more important? How are those kids not more important? How is those memories, the emotions? Why are we in America platforming money over emotional experiences every damn day in every damn place?
It was wrong for the athletes on that team of Ole Miss and their parents to find out from the media. that he was leaving. It was wrong for them to wake up in the morning, turn on SportsCenter, turn on TV, and you see this man getting on the plane and he's leaving town. That is cold-blooded. That should have been handled better.
Well, the athletic director of Ole Miss is also partially to blame. He should have let Kiffin finish the season.
His ego got in the way.
But a bunch of schmucks.
One power play left if he really wants to be dramatic about getting Texas into the playoff. You saw last night his WWE-style promo on ESPN about how it'd be a disservice to the sport if his 9-3 Longhorns are left out because one of those losses was at Ohio State. But do you realize next year they're also scheduled to play Ohio State out of conference? If that game can only hurt their playoff chances, he should threaten to immediately cancel this Ohio State non-conference game if the committee leaves him out. And he'd have a pretty compelling case. As great as that game would be for fans, why should he do it? They're going to have 5 ranked opponents in the SEC anyways. They'll have a strong enough schedule. If they go 10-2, they get in the playoff, and he could look right in the camera like he did last night and say, hey, committee, hey, fans, do y'all still want a competitive non-conference schedule? Because what the committee's doing right now is not encouraging teams to schedule challenging non-conference opponents. Even 2027, it's Michigan, 28, it's Notre Dame. Why even schedule these if there's really no benefit and these can really only hurt you? Texas will have enough of a challenge in their SEC schedule. There's no point to have these. I think Sark should be dramatic and threaten to go live and call Ohio State on a live stream right after the rankings are revealed and Texas is left out and threaten to cancel that game. Now, they're 16th and they have 3 losses. Honestly, I don't think they should get in at this point, but if Sark wants to be dramatic, he should threaten to cancel next year's Ohio State.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
All right, we're continuing with the football theme because apparently during break we had to call an audible, as they would call, because Matt Horn, our Ohio born and raised producer, wanted apparently to weasel in and somehow talk about the fearfulness, the greatness of the Ohio State University's football program, which of course is an absolute joke. I remember when LSU beat them for the national championship just a few years back. But, they are making a good point. We just saw, yet again, I went to LSU, so I grew up in Austin. My parents went to UT. My son just graduated from the law school about 2 years ago there in Austin. So I do like UT, although I did not attend. I'm not surprised that they beat A&M. A&M hadn't beat them in a long dang time, and they got a hell of a program down there.
And A&M was favored. They were favored,
and just by 2.5 points. But look, I think that UT has an incredible case for making the college playoffs if you ignore the fact that they got beat by 3-8 Florida.
I disagree.
But you got to ignore the Florida loss. If you include the Florida loss,
they have 3 losses.
They got 3 losses.
They have 3
It's about
losses.
wins and losses.
And so remember now, this guy was speaking about, quote unquote, TikToker podcaster with a TikToker, was saying that perhaps Sark should flex his muscle with the NCAA's football selection committee. Right. Well, be careful doing that, because remember, every school schedules an out-of-conference big-time game often to strengthen themselves with the football selection committee. You with me? Because Georgia does it, LSU, Alabama does it. So now if you don't do it, you decide to cancel that game, the selection committee can say, well, you know what, when we look at strength of schedule at the end of the year and how we want to rank the teams, they could hold that against UT also. Right. They've held it against others, saying, you know what, because of strength of schedule, they have a better winning record, but because of strength of schedule, we're keeping them out of we're not going to select them. They won't be in the playoff, and we're going to put a team in with more losses than that team.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're playing basically the equivalent
Texas
of the G League,
with that.
I mean, think about it. Think about like there's all these schools
like possibly Tulane making the playoff.
They can go undefeated, playing a bunch of other nominal schools that are all D1 that just aren't. They don't at all compare.
They're not Power 5 schools.
Right. I mean, they don't compare to the grind of the SEC. My argument for not putting UT in is the Florida loss, right? Now, and I mean, we've seen this evolution of Arch Manning, and I think he's had a good season. I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism.
A good season.
He's been decent. He just hasn't been phenomenal. right? He's not a Heisman
He is
candidate.
not being the transcending force
Right.
that many projected him to be.
Right.
He has not been the Heisman candidate that many projected him to be.
He's still a
and they
kid.
were wrong.
Still got
They were
time.
wrong for doing that because the kid had never accomplished anything on that level to even be classified as possibly being a Heisman candidate.
Well, even in high school, he wasn't playing 5A, 6A.
He wasn't playing the
Superhouses.
Texas level of competition,
Right. And
the
I mean,
Georgia
that's
level of
the thing.
competition.
People want to. We seem to be in love with the concept of aristocracy now. You see
Oh, no doubt about
like
it.
Nancy Pelosi's
We
daughter's
crowned
gonna
him because of
run.
family lineage.
You know, we see all these people that we think because their parents were great or their parents were politicians or their parents were this or that. All of a sudden, in America, of course, was built on the rejection of the aristocracy, right? And the, hey, if you have this Puritan work ethic, you can come here, you can build a life, you can make it in America. And obviously, a lot of the money he's getting, I think I saw the school pays him $2.5, $3 million a year that he's looking at. He's probably making another 6 or 7 in private deals. This guy is making millions and millions of dollars
the Ohio
based
State
on his name, and he's
loss,
just not that good.
The Ohio State loss is really not what's hurting him because the committee will say he lost to Ohio State, but that's the number one program in the country right now.
No, it's not.
They're undefeated.
Trash school.
No, far as winning right now,
Yeah,
winning.
they're not
right
playing
now,
real
they're
teams.
undefeated.
They're not playing real teams.
Right
They
now,
beat Michigan. Who
right now,
cares?
they're undefeated, and
Nonsense.
they're still at the top of college football right now, as far as the ranking selection committee.
Trash team.
So that's not hurting him. What's hurting him, Sark, and we got to be honest there, brother, you lost to Florida.
Right. That's
A
what
program,
I said.
a program,
Not having a good year.
program that
Not Steve Spurrier, Florida.
fired their head coach in
Right.
the middle of the season.
Right.
You played a
Not
program
Urban
that's
Meyer,
at the bottom of the
Florida.
barrel, and you lost to them. And then also, Sark, what you got to say is, you even played a few other schools extremely close that never
Right.
should have been close.
Right.
So, Sark, let's not look at the one Ohio State loss and say now the committee should put us in because we've only lost 3. But have we not lost that one? No, Sark. They're looking at your whole schedule, my friend.
So you think, and personally, I think and I don't think it'll come down to it, but if the choice was A&M or UT, I think it's A&M all day.
It's got to be A&M.
It's got to be A&M.
It's got to be A&M.
You get to you win that many games.
It's got to be A&M.
You're undefeated.
They lost
going
one
into-
game.
Right, and it lost
One
it,
game.
Lost it away. Lost it in Austin.
Right.
An incredibly hostile environment. A historic game.
To a top 20 team.
Right.
And like you said, it was an away game.
Right.
And they've only lost one. You can't put them in. But see, here's the real
But
question.
here's the contravening argument for UT. UT's beat a number 8 and a number 3. Who's done that?
But let me ask you
A&M
this.
ain't done it.
Let me ask you this. Do they get in before A&M? You say no, right?
I mean, I don't
Do they
think
get in
should,
before
but
Georgia?
Maybe.
Do they get
No,
in
of
before
course
Georgia?
not. Of course
so
not.
think about they not getting in before Georgia and A&M.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, I mean,
who you
but
going to
here's
remove?
the thing: the SEC champion is always the real champion, and this is gonna upset some Ohio State, Michigan, Pearson.
What about Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt, come on.
Wait a minute.
Come on, those.
Wait a minute.
Vanderbilt.
But wait a
I mean,
minute.
like Vanderbilt, just a bunch of.
But
they
look
just,
at what they've
little
done.
Rich school bought some
But
players.
look at what
I
they've
don't
done.
want to hear it.
And they beat some top-tier
I know,
programs,
they ain't
and they're in the
anybody real.
SEC,
Here's the
and they got
thing.
that same win record as
only,
Texas.
The only reason Ohio State and Michigan ever pop off in this new playoff is because they haven't been getting beat up all season. They've been playing Nancy schools, Nancy
No doubt.
programs.
Is Notre Dame different?
I don't
With
know.
that independent schedule?
That's nonsense.
Is there really?
Nonsense.
Is there any different?
Really, the SEC champion is actually the champion every single year.
Well, it
'Cause they're
used to be
playing
that way.
NFL, and it's still that way.
No, when Michigan won just 2 years ago.
Yeah, because they weren't getting beat up all
Think
year.
about
They were
that.
fresh. They had fresh
now,
legs.
I'm going to be honest with you. In the last 3-4 years, the SEC has not been historically what it was under Saban when
I
Saban
disagree.
was at the top of the
I
crown.
disagree.
Look at Georgia. Georgia doesn't even look like the same program it looked like 3 years ago. So NIL has brought parity to a lot of those programs. And will we even still have the historic powerhouses
Clemson fell off a cliff.
with NIL? Clemson took a nosedive,
Right.
but that's NIL.
I know.
And then remember, this is something Texas has to say. Sark, look at your budget for your program and your players and compare your budget to other programs that are being let into the playoffs.
It's not even close to being fair.
Other coaches have done better with less and don't have the resources that Sark has. He has to be willing to admit that also.
Well, I don't think he's even willing to admit that he's made some mistakes with Arch's advancement, right? I think the young man most certainly has the ability to be a great quarterback both
Someday
on the college level
down
and
the
at
road.
the NFL. But
He needs to grow more.
His field vision, his decision making, it's just not there right now. Now he had an incredible run, That 35-yard touchdown run was really impressive. And he's got legs. He's fast.
I don't think he should come out this year.
No, absolutely not.
I think he should go back to school and play that senior year.
He needs to have a good season.
And remember, he redshirted.
Right.
But he still needs to stay an extra year. So that means he needs 5 years of college football to even really be ready for the NFL. That says a whole lot, Charles.
Yep.
A lot.
I would absolutely agree. I don't think UT should make the playoffs. I think A&M should. But I'm still glad that A&M got spanked last week. I think that I love to see it.
A&M has a better win-loss record.
Right.
They only got 1 loss. UT has 3. And Sark should know better to think that they're going to take him in over A&M. That's just not going to work. But I do believe that there are some schools who should not be in it. All respect to Tulane and the successful season that they've had, but you and I both know Tulane should not be making the college football playoff.
No, that's absolutely absurd.
It's not.
It's absolutely green wave nonsense. But I mean, I feel the same way. I mean, it's just it's a small private school for wealthy kids that's bought a few good players with NIL that really has no business because they ain't played nobody. Go play some real schools.
But I believe that the schools in the top 25 should be the only schools considered for the playoff, in honesty. I believe that the ranking system needs to be altered a little bit, and that strength of schedule should be one of the top considerations for all 12 playoff spots, and it should be based on the rankings. Maybe the top 12 should get in the rankings, not just picking people randomly saying, we like this program over that program.
Also, I mean, once you get a best eight.
But what they did to Florida State year before last,
that was
that was
nonsense.
wrong.
Absolute nonsense.